Hi, and welcome to Random Walks in HR. Me, Tim Peffers, and today we're talking about the skills of people analytics. So this is really a video aimed at either people who are looking to get into people analytics and understand, what are the skills and competencies that you need to develop to get a job in people analytics, or people who are already in a people analytics team and really want to understand, okay, what are the career paths available to me, and what skills do I need to develop to then progress? It might also be interesting to people analytics leaders who want to understand actually what are other people in the market doing, and lastly, it might be of interest for anyone who's interested in how can we leverage skills data to benchmark ourselves and understand what are the critical skills to develop within our own teams. So we're going to build on what we did in the last video and use the skills inference tool that MZ provides. If you haven't seen the skills inference video, please check it out. It'll probably explain an awful lot of the questions you might have around how did we get this data. Essentially, what we did was we scraped job descriptions of people analytics jobs all around the world, classified them into different groups of skills, and then what we have is the analysis. So what are the key skills for people analytics? So before we dive into it, let's talk a little bit around career paths of how we structured the data. And essentially, we've used a very simple career path here around managers or specialists. And essentially, specialists are people who deliver analysis. Managers essentially deliver their work through managing other people. In the specialists, you have analysts, sort of entry level, then you have your senior analyst, and then you can specialize in either data scientists who do the analytics and the analysis part, building the models, or data engineers who are responsible for essentially getting the data, cleaning the data, and then moving data from system to system so that we have nice, clean, and productized data. For managers, essentially three levels. The first is the manager, so manager or team leader. Then you have the more senior manager. They're often described as heads of, or they're managing a particular function within people analytics, like employee listening or talent or BI. And then you have the senior leadership role, and they're often directors, senior leaders, they're VPs, they're global executives, but they're the top job. They're the big honcho, the big cheese, and they're the ones who are really driving either the whole people analytics team or even other functions in there as well, sometimes HRIS or other responsibility areas. So, first piece of insight, we looked at qualifications. And the interesting thing is, first of all, if companies are recruiting for a people analytics leader or any other roles, they really don't care about MBAs. It's much more around sort of quantitative qualifications. So statistics is the most sought after. Mathematics, economics, and psychology, social sciences are also there. Interestingly, for the top job, so that kind of people analytics leader, the most popular by far request for qualification was IO psychology. So really more around understanding the business and how to get work done, rather than necessarily needing to have that very technical level of expertise. In terms of HR skills and knowledge, talent analytics is by far the most sought after. So every single different type of role really requires an understanding of talent analytics. So companies clearly very concerned about talent, really interested around things like attrition modeling and more kind of talent specific processes. What's also really interesting though is that the skills and knowledge base for senior leaders is completely different. So you see the dark purple there. Senior leaders need a much broader knowledge base in terms of HR processes. So, organizational behavior, development, learning and development, organizational architecture, productivity, succession planning. So again, it's a really interesting question as to people analytics. It's how you developing your top talent to become those leaders within the team. Because actually, if you stay in your people analytics team, you probably stay in your lane. You're not developing the broader knowledge that you might need to then have that top job. And actually, you may want to move outside of people analytics to a more HR generalist role or a COE to then be able to move back in to that more senior leadership role. In terms of technical skills, Excel is the most popular skill, but you've got to make a choice here, okay? It's not a vertical progression from analyst, senior analyst to people scientist or data engineer. Actually, to become a people scientist or a data scientist, you need to have coding skills. So at the start of your career, you may want to make a decision about where you want to go. Are you happy with a senior analyst role, or then maybe move into that management track? Then Excel is fine. But actually, if you want to become an SME, you want to become that expert, you need to start learning those coding skills early. Skills like R, SQL, Python, and that's going to then unlock all those more sexy skills around, statistical modeling, natural language processing, machine learning, forecasting. That's going to allow you to become that kind of SME and that very cutting edge people analytics analyst. In terms of data engineering, it's quite interesting. Companies are not asking for data engineers, they're not hiring a lot. So that would imply either that they're leveraging those skills from somewhere else in an organization, or they're actually asking their analysts and their data scientists to do this kind of work, or the kind of extraction, the transformation, loading, the data mining, the structuring of the data, which probably means you're not getting great value out of your data scientists. The other potential inference is actually around business intelligence being the most sought after skill, and that kind of alludes to the amount of dashboarding that teams are doing. So actually, they're doing the data engineering, but they're using predominantly Tableau, Power BI to do those. Alltricks as well, new tool that's got some kind of mentions, but really Tableau and Power BI are the two most sought after technology skills. And it also kind of implies that teams are still, with all the amazing analysis they're doing, they're still using dashboarding tools to communicate with the business and get their insights into the hands of decision makers. Interesting as well that actually there's not many HRIS systems on this list, so actually companies aren't really associating and putting together those HRIS teams and those people analytics teams. There seems to be a separation, which is good, but not many kind of new edge, cutting edge tools and technologies on this list. In terms of your leadership roles, so your management roles, there's a big emphasis on soft skills, and actually a lot of those key skills are related to consultancy. So you think about communication, you think about influencing, you think about presentations, straight up consulting skills. These seem to be the driving skills that people want within senior leaders. And essentially, it kind of implies that companies are using their senior leaders to do that consultancy, talking to the business, driving impact through consultation and through influencing. What's interesting as well is that actually things like people management skills are very much not sought after. So maybe we're assuming that people who have consultant skills have then the ability to manage people, or maybe that's not a priority. But for me, I find it personally a little bit worrying. Well, that was my quick run through of the analysis. A few more qualitative insights from the exercise that I gleaned. One was definitely around specificity. And actually, what was interesting is a lot of the companies that are much more mature, like the Facebooks and INGs that at the time we're recruiting, are actually very clear about exactly what role we're doing. The companies where they're maybe a little less mature or starting up a people analytics team are often just hiring a manager or a analyst to then do the whole gamut. And actually, one of the ways that you can potentially infer if you're applying for jobs in the people analytics world is that the number of skills that a company is asking for is inversely proportionally related to their maturity. So, companies like Google, very few skills asking for. Companies with absolutely no experience in this asking for absolutely everything, kind of chasing the unicorn. The other thing that I thought was particularly interesting was around regional variation. So a lot of very senior leadership roles and high level roles in America. A lot of people, scientists, data engineers would be recruited in America, primarily New York and most of all in California. The UK and especially Europe and Asia, much further behind, much more of these kind of more generic management roles and much more lower down roles. So a lot more analysts and a lot more managers then having to do more kind of senior leadership type behaviors, talking to CEOs and C-suite consultations. So those are my insights. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful. I'd like to do this again in a couple of years' time just to see how people analytics is progressing, and actually are we learning? Are we starting to recruit some of those more new skills, such as people analytics business partnering, which is a sort of slightly upcoming trend, but only a few companies are recruiting for, but also some of these newer skills around product development and productization. So again, the analysis is showing that we're very good at getting data, crunching data, analyzing data, but where's that data going? And that's what I'm really interested in seeing going forwards, and to see actually if we're developing those skills now, if they're going to be the skills that people are going to be seeking out in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. So stay tuned. We'll do a follow up later, but in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I hope this wasn't a complete waste of your time.